In a city carved from desert dreams and limitless ambition, image is the ultimate currency. Here, skyscrapers don't just scrape the sky, they defy it. Fortunes are made and lost between heartbeats. And tonight, in this glass-walled ballroom suspended between the stars and the sea, a different kind of transaction is about to take place. This isn't merely a wedding, it's a masterclass in perception. A meticulously staged production where every smile is a potential headline, every handshake a silent business deal, and every hidden secret is a weapon waiting to be drawn. Welcome to the union of Sheikh Rami Al-Habib and Layla Al-Zahrani. By sunrise, the champagne will have lost its fizz. The orchids will have begun to wilt, and the carefully crafted fairy tale will be violently rewritten, its final chapter etched not in gold, but in poison and blood. This is the story of a gilded cage, a treacherous alliance, and a killer who operated not from the shadows, but from the inner circle. Before we delve into this labyrinth of deception, I'm curious to know, where in the world are you joining us from? Let me know your city and country in the comments below. It's always fascinating to see the global reach of these stories. Let's set the stage for the drama that is about to unfold. The venue is the Zaha Ballroom, an architectural fantasy of glass and light, seemingly floating above the iconic Palm Jumeirah. The guest list is a dizzying roster of global finance titans, discreet royalty, and A-list celebrities. Outside, a fleet of supercars idles like silent, predatory beasts, their polished surfaces reflecting the city's neon glow. Drone cameras buzz like mechanical dragonflies, capturing every moment for a voracious social media audience. This is more than a celebration, it is a powerful, public declaration of status and success. And at the very heart of this dazzling spectacle is the groom himself, Sheikh Rami Al-Habib. To the outside world, he is the visionary. A tech magnate with the Midas touch and a philanthropist with a heart of gold. He moves through the adoring crowd with a calibrated, effortless grace, his smile perfectly engineered to inspire confidence and charm. He isn't just a man, he is a globally recognized brand, a symbol of a new, modern Arabia. And tonight, he is unveiling his most exquisite acquisition, his bride. Layla Al-Zahrani is nothing short of a vision, a living masterpiece adorned in custom ivory silk and a fortune in flawless diamonds. She glides beside Rami, her smile serene, her eyes holding a depth and mystery that the cameras can't quite penetrate. She appears to be the perfect complement to his immense power, poised, intelligent, and seemingly born into this world of effortless luxury. But every beautiful portrait has its shadows, and Layla's are deeper and more complex than anyone in this glittering room could possibly imagine. Orbiting this golden couple are the key players in our impending tragedy. First, there is Farouk, the social architect. She is far more than a guest, she is the conductor of the entire evening's narrative. With her phone perpetually in hand, she curates every moment, snapping photos, crafting pithy captions, and feeding a ravenous digital ecosystem. She trades exclusively in influence and access, and this wedding is her grandest stage yet. Then, we have Faris Kabani, Rami's longtime business partner, and the co-architect of their financial empire. If Rami is the charismatic public face, Faris is the relentless engine in the soundproofed back room. He moves through the crowd with a shark's disarming smile, shaking hands, sealing unspoken deals with a glance. His eyes are constantly scanning, assessing the room not for its joy or beauty, but for its utility and leverage. He is the very definition of velvet-wrapped menace. And finally, there is Tariq Nasser, Rami's personal head of security. An ex-special forces officer with a gaze as sharp and analytical as a supercomputer. While the other guests lose themselves in champagne and conversation, Tariq reads the room like a tactical battlefield map. He notes the nervous twitch of a new waiter, the guest who lingers a moment too long near a private elevator, the subtle, almost imperceptible shift in the crowd's energy. He is a human firewall, and tonight, every one of his instincts is on high alert. The evening unfolds as a symphony of breathtaking excess. The menu boasts caviar harvested from the Caspian Sea and Wagyu beef sliders on gold-dusted brioche. A world-renowned DJ seamlessly blends classical melodies with deep, thumping bass lines. It is, by every conceivable measure, a flawless event. But beneath the shimmering, perfect surface, tiny, almost invisible cracks are beginning to form, threatening the entire foundation. A single, unassuming delivery arrives, lost in a tidal wave of more extravagant gifts. A simple, unmarked velvet box. It's logged by Tariq's meticulous team. Protocol is protocol, and placed with the mountain of other presents. Amal, her content hunter's eye ever active, snaps a picture of its enigmatic, minimalist elegance. No one pays it any special mind. It is just another trinket in a vast sea of treasures. But this box is different. It is a ghost from a forgotten life. And it carries a message from a past that Layla had prayed was buried forever. To truly understand the cataclysm contained within that velvet box, we must journey back in time, to a world far removed from this Dubai ballroom. Years ago, a younger, hungrier Layla navigated the vibrant, chaotic, and often gritty streets of Jeddah. While building her legitimate boutique business, she also operated in a far grayer world, a high-stakes, shadowy loop of rediscovered jewelry. This involved heat-treated gemstones to enhance their value, pearls with murky provenance, and items that had mysteriously slipped through the cracks of official ledgers. It was a dangerous, nerve-wracking game, but the profits were substantial, funding her ascent from the ground up. She was brilliant at it, using a rotating series of aliases and temporary pop-up shops in anonymous hotel lobbies to move her inventory. She learned the cardinal, unbreakable rule of the shadow economy. You must vanish, completely and utterly, before your luck inevitably runs out. After a terrifyingly close call with a violent rival dealer, she executed a perfect disappearing act. She torched her alias, crossed the border into the UAE, and meticulously, painstakingly rebuilt herself from scratch into Layla Al-Zahrani, the sophisticated, philanthropic, and impeccably legitimate entrepreneur worthy of a sheikh's attention. She had truly believed her past was a closed book, its pages sealed shut. But the past has a cruel habit of collecting interest. A supplier she once worked with had defaulted on a significant debt to a far more dangerous criminal entity. A customs official she had discreetly bribed years prior was caught in a crackdown and, under intense pressure, began talking. The fragile threads of her old life were being pulled, and they were all connected, like a spider's web, to that single, unassuming velvet box now sitting innocently among the wedding gifts. We return to the wedding as the grand party is finally winding down. The last of the guests have departed, and the newlyweds retreat to their breathtaking private penthouse suite, a sanctuary of profound silence high above the fading echoes of music and laughter. The penthouse is a bubble of pure tranquility, a world away from the sensory overload of the ballroom. The only sounds are the therapeutic hiss of a state-of-the-art espresso machine and the faint, almost melodic hum of the city sprawling infinitely below them. The mood is intimate, a quiet, stolen moment of peace after the glorious storm of the ceremony. It is here, in this vulnerable intimacy, that Layla, perhaps driven by a pang of nostalgia or a simple, curious impulse, retrieves the unmarked velvet box. Inside, there is no glittering jewel, no heartfelt note. Instead, nestled on a bed of stark black silk, is a sleek, unmarked micro-drive. A modern-day Pandora's box, small enough to fit in the palm of her hand. With a casual, almost bored curiosity, Rami plugs the tiny device into his laptop. What flashes onto the high-resolution screen is not a digital wedding album or a congratulatory message. It is a dossier. A meticulously compiled digital tombstone for Layla's former life. There are scanned invoices from her long-shuttered pop-up shops, blurred but recognizable photos of her under her old alias, complex financial trails meandering through a labyrinth of shell companies and offshore havens. It is a prosecutor's dream, and a groom's most devastating nightmare. The very air in the room changes, growing thick and heavy. The celebratory warmth is instantly replaced by a chilling, accusatory silence. Rami's face, once the very picture of relaxed, untouchable confidence, hardens into a mask of cold fury and betrayal. His entire world, an empire built meticulously on reputation, trust, and absolute control, is suddenly teetering on the precipice of a scandal so profound it could obliterate everything: his business, his legacy, his family's name. He feels a sudden, inexplicable, prickling heat crawling up the back of his neck. Dismissing it as the pure, unadulterated rage and adrenaline coursing through him, he takes a final, agitated sip of his espresso. It tastes wrong. Uniquely bitter, with a chemical undertone that has nothing to do with the quality of the coffee beans. He tries to stand, to pace, to physically process the magnitude of the betrayal, but the elegant marble floor seems to lurch and tilt violently beneath his feet. The beautiful porcelain cup slips from his suddenly numb fingers and shatters on the floor, 1,000 tiny pieces skittering into the darkness. At that exact, synchronized moment, down in the hotel's high-security surveillance office, Tariq Nasser is monitoring the live hallway feed outside the Penthouse. The crystal-clear screen flickers once, then twice. For 3 agonizingly long minutes, the video feed dissolves into pure, empty static, a perfect, inexplicable, and surgically inserted loop of digital nothingness. When the feed finally clears, restoring the image of the plush, empty corridor, Rami Al-Habib is lying on the cold marble floor, his body contorted in a final, silent struggle. His eyes wide open, frozen with an unanswerable question. The response is a chilling study in controlled, efficient chaos. Tariq's voice is calm but razor-sharp on the radio, deploying code words that send his team into a well-rehearsed lockdown procedure. Medics are summoned with urgent, quiet commands. Faris Kabani appears at the scene as if materializing from the shadows, his face a masterful mask of concerned authority, quietly directing staff, containing the spread of panic like a biological threat. Amal Farouk, for the first time all night, is utterly silent, her precious phone hanging limply in her hand as she stares, uncomprehending, at the scene. And Layla is frozen, a beautiful statue of pure shock. Her hands pressed tightly against her mouth, as if to physically hold back a scream. The sirens arrive soon after, their dissonant wails slicing through the opulent night. But down in the grand ballroom, the clean-up crew reports that the music is, inexplicably, still playing. A haunting, empty melody for a party that was already over, danced by ghosts. This is where the investigation truly begins, with the arrival of Detective Dima Haddad. She is a stark contrast to this world of manufactured glitter and gloss. She deals in hard facts, unassailable forensics, and the flawed, messy, and often ugly nature of human motive. When she walks into the penthouse suite, now a sterile and silent crime scene, she isn't impressed by the breathtaking view. She sees a stage, and every object a potential prop. Her experienced eyes perform a slow, methodical sweep of the room. The shattered espresso cup, its pieces gathered like evidence of a fallen god. The laptop, still open and humming, the damning files on the microdrive glowing on the screen. The keycard logs that show Layla had entered the suite alone on 2 separate occasions. It's a narrative gift wrapped for a ravenous press corps, the devious bride, exposed and desperate, silencing the one man who could ruin her. The official forensics report lands on her desk with a definitive thud. The cause of death, a rare, complex, and virtually undetectable compound known as conidine. A sophisticated botanical poison that acts as a precise cardiac disruptor. A microdose, barely a few grains, is enough to be fatal, and it leaves behind only the most subtle metabolic traces. The crucial finding was that it wasn't dissolved in the coffee itself, but concentrated on a single, undissolved sugar cube found at the very bottom of Rami's saucer. The plot immediately thickens, becoming a complex web. The suite's fully automated, smart espresso machine had its temperature and pressure settings manually overridden just 1 hour before the poisoning, a specific change that would intentionally create a more bitter, acrid brew, compelling a guest to instinctively add sugar. Furthermore, the room's luxury automated scent diffuser was found to contain trace amounts of another, milder alkaloid, designed not to kill, but to induce mild disorientation and dramatically heighten the effects of the primary toxin. This was not a crime of passion, it was a sophisticated, multi-layered, and ruthlessly clinical attack. And then there was the critical, 3-minute gap in the hallway surveillance. It wasn't a random technical glitch, it was a surgical digital edit, a pre-recorded loop inserted with precision to give someone an invisible, untraceable window to act. The public, of course, demands a villain. And the digital mob is all too happy to deliver. Layla is tried, convicted, and sentenced in the ruthless court of public opinion long before she even retains a lawyer. Hashtags like hashtag Black Widow Bride and hashtag Dubai Deception trend globally within hours. Her past, now expertly and selectively leaked to the media, fuels the inferno. It's the perfect, salacious story, the ruthless social climber from a shady past who killed her golden goose the moment her secrets were threatened with exposure. But Detective Dima Haddad is a student of human nature, and she holds a deep, inherent distrust for perfect stories. They are always, without exception, man-made. The evidence arrayed against Layla is a little too neat, a little too convenient. The microdrive, the keycard logs, the powerfully obvious motive, it all feels like a carefully written script. She becomes convinced that someone was counting on the world's predictable outrage, banking on everyone to stop looking the moment the most obvious villain was conveniently identified and paraded before them. So, Dima deliberately turns her gaze away from the easy target and begins to scrutinize the supporting cast, the players who moved in the background. She starts by pulling the financial threads, and they begin to fray almost immediately. Faris Kobani's corporate empire, a facade of impeccable stability, is revealed to be a house of cards. Rami had recently discovered alarming discrepancies, millions of dollars being quietly funneled through a complex series of shadowy shell companies. A decisive board meeting was scheduled for the Monday morning after the wedding, where Rami was prepared to expose Faris completely and force him out of the company they built together, a move that would have meant financial and social destruction for Faris. She turns her attention to Tariq Nasser. His service record is impeccable, but a deeper dive into his personal finances reveals a secret: debilitating gambling addiction and crippling, 6-figure debts to underworld figures. A man in his position of ultimate trust, with his encyclopedic knowledge of security protocols and blind spots, would be an unimaginably powerful asset to the right bidder. And what of Amal Farouk? Her entire existence, her power, her very identity, is built entirely on access and influence. What drastic measures would she take to protect her precious status? Or to secure a single, massive, untraceable payday large enough to liberate her from the fickle world of influence forever? The forensics team, working with microscopic precision, makes a series of crucial finds. Minuscule fibers lifted from the sugar tin in the Penthouse's private pantry are a perfect match for the specialized, non-transferable tactical gloves issued exclusively to Tariq's security team. And a single, almost invisible fleck of iridescent glitter found on the suite's balcony railing, a specific, proprietary type used only in the main ballroom's confetti cannons, is discovered embedded in the sole of the formal shoes Faris Kobani wore that very night. Why would the grieving, distraught business partner have been out on the couple's private balcony before the incident occurred? Piece by painstaking piece, Dima reconstructs the timeline. It was not the act of a single individual, but a chilling chain of complicity. Ferris, facing total financial and professional ruin, was the mastermind. He provided the sophisticated poison and the financial incentive. He used his influence and resources to hire a freelance AV technician to create the flawless surveillance loop. A digital trick they had covertly tested weeks prior at a corporate yacht party. Tariq, utterly compromised by his insurmountable debts, was the essential inside man. He used his master key access to override the espresso machine's smart settings. He was the one who planted the single, poisoned sugar cube in the penthouse pantry. He created the critical opportunity by ensuring the hallway camera was blind for those 3 decisive minutes. Amal, motivated by a massive, untraceable cryptocurrency payment and the promised exclusive scoop on the resulting global scandal, was the narrative engineer. Her role was to deliver the velvet box into the gift cascade, ensuring the motive would be discovered at the most dramatically potent moment, thereby directing all suspicion squarely and irrevocably toward Layla. Together, they had transformed a celebration of love into a diabolical locked-room mystery, and they had deliberately placed the only key directly into the hands of the most obvious suspect. Confronted with the overwhelming, interconnected evidence, their fragile alliances shattered instantly. Tariq, staring down the barrel of a life sentence in a maximum security prison, turned state's witness, detailing the entire, sordid plot in exchange for a reduced sentence. Amal, terrified of losing her freedom and her fragile, glittering social standing, confessed to her role as the narrative pawn. The digital and financial paper trail, the encrypted messages, the cryptocurrency transfers, the AV service invoices, led like a blazing arrow straight back to Faris Kabani. He was arrested at a private airfield, attempting to flee the country using a forged passport, a new identity, and a single suitcase filled with non-sequential bills. In the final, sobering analysis, the truth was not about passion, jealousy, or revenge. It was about cold, hard, ruthless calculus. Rami Al-Habib wasn't killed for love. He was eliminated in a brutal corporate takeover. A hostile acquisition that was finalized not in a sterile boardroom, but in his own bridal suite. His murder was, at its core, a business decision, cleverly disguised as a classic crime of passion. Faris Kabani was convicted on charges of first-degree murder and conspiracy, receiving a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole, his fortune and reputation evaporating into nothingness. Tariq Nasser, having traded his secrets for a chance at someday seeing the outside world again, received a lengthy, but lesser, prison term. Amal Farouk's entire empire of influence crumbled to dust almost overnight. She became a permanent social pariah, a ghost haunting the very world she once dominated and controlled. And Layla? She was fully exonerated by the courts, declared an innocent victim of a monstrous plot, but she was never truly freed. The digital ghost of the Black Widow bride would forever haunt her online search results, an inescapable, digital scar. She quietly disappeared from the relentless public eye, selling the extravagant, now painful wedding gifts and donating every last dirham to the charitable foundations Rami had held most dear. It was her final, quiet, and dignified rebuttal to the deafening noise that had sought to define her. Detective Dima Haddad officially closed the case file, but it left a permanent mark on her soul. It served as a stark, enduring lesson that in a world meticulously built on brilliant, shimmering surfaces, the most dangerous monsters aren't the ones lurking in the shadows. They are the ones standing right next to you in the blinding light, smiling warmly for the camera, their glasses raised in a toast, all while their minds are coldly, methodically calculating your worth to them, dead or alive. This was a story where a modern fairy tale was brutally remixed into a crime scene. But what do you think? Was justice truly and completely served in this case? Could such an elaborate, well-funded plot have had other, even more powerful, architects who remain hidden in the shadows, their hands clean? I am genuinely interested to hear your theories and reflections in the comments below. If you were captivated by this deep dive into a world where power, deception, and murder collided in plain sight, then you have found your home here. Help us unravel more of the world's most compelling and complex mysteries by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell. There are countless more stories waiting in the shadows to be uncovered, and together, we can give them the light and attention they deserve. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and thank you for watching.